Good evening, my dear friends. I welcome you all to the Hindu and the Businessline editorial analysis. The first editorial I am going to discuss is from the Hindu. The first editorial is titled Finding a Home. This editorial is discussing about the destitute children and making the adoption laws easier. Recently, the discussion has been around making the adoption laws easier. Adoption laws of children who are begging in the streets should be made faster is the discussion going around in the parliament recently. Therefore, the parliamentary committee, there is a parliamentary committee. What is the name of that committee? The Parliamentary Committee on Personnel, Public Grievances, Law and Justice is the Parliamentary Committee. This Parliamentary Committee has been entrusted with looking into the issue of the destitute children finding the adopting parents. There is a nodal agency. What is that nodal agency? The Child Adoption Resource Authority. A nodal agency, Child Adoption Resource Authority, that is CARA, is there in India to book or register the wishes of those who are going to adopt children. Therefore, this CARA has to be apprised that the parents who are wishing to adopt a child, destitute child, meets the legitimate criteria to adopt a child. We find lots of destitute children in many parts of India begging. And those destitute children are most of the times put under juvenile homes and child welfare committees. Child welfare committee is the committee which is picking the destitute children from the streets and placing them with all arrangements for food, education and health in the poor homes. The child welfare committee educates these children. So, this has been the process going on. However, in poor homes, the child does not find a parent. The love and affection of the parents is something different, and the environment of a home is something different from the hostel's life of the poor homes. However, there is a mismatch in the children available for adoption and the parents registered with the CARA for adoption. There are 27,000 parents who have registered with the CARA for adopting the destitute children. However, there are only 2,400 children available for adoption. Thousands and thousands of children are roaming around in the streets. There are lots of orphan children who are put under poor homes. Sometimes they are found begging in some parts of India, for example. However, the government parliamentary committee, what I talked about just now, has been trying to bring more and more children for adoption so that they could find a home, a homely environment, the parental affection, the affection of a father and a mother, which is very much necessary for a child. For the orphaned children, this was going to be ensured. However, The Hindu editorial Finding a Home discusses that the hurry should not be made. The policy interference should not affect the interests of the children who are going to be adopted. The interest of the child in this case has to be the predominant consideration for making a policy interference on such affairs. The parliamentary panel is seemed to be in a hurry to make more children available for adoption. However, there are international laws than inter-country laws, the intrastate laws, which are applicable so that the safety of the children are looked into. So, every legitimate means to adopt a child should be encouraged. The recent discussion on the gardens and juvenile laws, recent discussion on the guardian and juvenile laws on this aspect is put under question in this editorial of Hindu Finding a Home. The children have lots of aspirations and expectations as a mind of a very small child, very fragile mind. It must be shaped in such a manner that it grows up in an environment where it finds comfortable and devoid of all sorts of interferences on the affairs of the child. This is a very delicate issue and it deserves a very serious attention so that the future of our country, the children of immortal bliss, the bliss and the soul of our country find a home beautiful enough for them to live. Then the next article is about the ban of the All India Football Federation by the FIFA, that is International Federation of Football on football. The title of the editorial is Sudden Death. It's a very strange title. These are all very short-term arrangements. No, the conciliation process is going on. The ice-breaking process is going on. So this is not the final ban. Football is a very hugely acclaimed and appreciated game in India. Therefore, we find that nowadays the fervor which football is receiving from clubs in India is very huge. The ban on the All India Football Federation by FIFA, that is the World Football Authority, is because the outside interference of the court, Indian court, into the affairs of the Football Federation. Recently, the Praful Patel led All India Football Federation was entrusted to the Supreme Court appointed Committee of Administration, which was trying to control the Football Federation. Praful Patel, the earlier president of the Football Federation, All India Football Federation, has been in charge of the All India Football Federation for around 12 years. He was not going. Therefore, the complaint went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court appointed a committee of administrators to find another administration for its helm of affairs. Similarly, Indian Olympics Association recently we can find that has also been quashed by the administration has been quashed by the administration of Indian Olympic Association has been quashed by the Delhi High Court, and it has appointed a committee to look into the affairs of the Indian Olympics Association. The court's interference into sports is going on. Therefore, even in hockey, this is there. However, the the World Hockey Federation chose not to ban the Indian hockey team. The danger or the loop fell upon the All India Football Federation only. The All India Football Federation has planned some matches in UAE which had to be cancelled. Kerala Blasters was having some matches in UAE in the coming days which has been cancelled due to this ban, due to the FIFA ban. Similarly, in Uzbekistan, AFC match has been there, for which Mohan Bagan Football Club and Gokulam Football Club. This is the women's team which reached for the AFC football matches in Uzbekistan. However, this has been held back because the ban is affecting the matches played by Indian football teams abroad. In October, we have the under 17, that is, those who are below 17, the Women's Football World Cup in October. There is a big question mark on how it can be conducted amidst this ban. Therefore, Supreme Court has said that and has called upon the center to make some ice-breaking efforts with the FIFA so that the under 17 Women's World Cup can be held in October. The World Hockey Cup is also going on, is also coming up. Luckily, the Hockey World Federation has not banned the All India hockey team. Though court interference is going on in football, the Indian Olympic Association and the Hockey Federation, only football is chosen by FIFA. Luckily, the other games are spared. However, we have to mend our ways with the FIFA. FIFA is alleging the court appointed committee of administrators is asking for a 50% representation of the players, football players, in the administration of the football. All India Football Federation, the Court of Administrators is asking for a 50% representation of sports persons in the administration. However, 20% representation is only necessary. Hence, it was viewed skeptically by the FIFA that outside interference in the sports is causing lots of non-independence of the football sports, and hence the ban. We must appeal to the FIFA and make ice-breaking efforts so that first we have to appoint the administrators of the Football Federation, All India Football Federation. Then we make with that change, we must make an appeal to the FIFA so that the October World Cup, the Women's World Cup, moves smoothly. Now, moving on to the business line. The discussion hinges around the title of the editorial in the business line is Competition Success Review. Competition Success Review. There is a very, very old law, that is 20 years law, the Competition Act 2002. By and then, amendments are brought in this act to capture the realities of the times, and the Competition Act is fine-tuned to the changing nature of the business and the economic scenarios. The present amendment, which was placed in the monsoon session of the Parliament, is the Competition Act Amendment Bill, Competition Law Amendment Bill 2022. What does it say? What is the purpose of competition law? Competition law is brought in 2002 to promote competition. Friends, you can see that there are certain enterprises, very large enterprises, which do not allow the market access by small entrepreneurs. If this happens, if only large players are playing in the market and no other players are allowed, especially the small players are not allowed to enter into the market, what will happen is that the charging of exorbitant prices by the only limited players in the market will happen. This is unfair to the health of the market. The consumers are suffering. When only 2 or 3 players, very big enterprises are just producing goods and selling in the market, the small players do not find their entry into this market dominated by these 2 or 3 companies, very huge companies. What will happen is that these 2 or 3 companies can dominate the market and they can command the prices. This is unhealthy. Therefore, Competition Act was brought in. Earlier, there was a monopolies and restrictive trade practices law. Now the Competition Act has come. For the last 20 years, it has been regulating competition. There is another menace which is preventing the competition in the country. For example, some players, some big companies like airline companies will form a group and they will charge the airfares, that is airfares from the passengers at the same price. If you look at any airlines air charges, this will be very much same, and it is being put in a very high pedestal, that is a very exorbitant charging of the price by all the players in the airline industry will be same. This is a mutual understanding between them, and this concept is called cartelization. Cartels determine the price and the consumers are just takers. There is no competition. This is bad. This had to be prevented with the competition law. So cartelization is prevented and dominating position of standard enterprises is prevented with the help of the competition law. That is the objective with which competition law has been brought in, my dear friends. Remember, the domination of big enterprises dominating and just commanding the charges in the market and the cartelization in the market are the two menaces which has to be sought to prevent by competition law. The last 20 years competition law has been operated in this manner. There is a criteria on which the competition law is enforceable on certain mergers and acquisitions. What do you mean by mergers and acquisitions? There is A limited company and B limited company. These are big companies operating in the same business. For example, tire manufacturing. These are biggest competitors in the business. A limited company is the competitor of B limited company. B limited company is the competitor of A limited company. One day they decide to end the competition and join, and mergers and acquisition is happening. They try to amalgamate. That is, A limited is amalgamating with B limited to form AB limited. What happens is that whatever competition was there has ended. So, with the forming of the AB limited, A limited is not competing with B limited, B limited is not competing with A limited, and therefore the charging of the exorbitant prices of AB limited is single-handed. There is no competition, end of the competition. Competition law prevents such kind of mergers and acquisitions which will affect the competition. It is not that the competition law tries to prevent the mergers and acquisitions. If there is proper merger and acquisition between two companies, for example A limited and B limited, it is okay. However, the unfair way in which the A limited and B limited will merge into is prevented with the competition law. There are two criteria which are looked into to determine whether it is affecting the competition or not. One is the asset criteria of the two companies. Asset criteria means the net worth of the two companies. The two companies' total asset values are taken together, and a threshold limit, a limit is kept beyond which, if the assets are going, then the Competition Commission of India, there is an authority which is looking into these affairs, the administration of the competition law, which is the Competition Commission of India. If the threshold of assets value is crossed, the Competition Commission of India will look into the transaction, the merger. And another criteria is turnover criteria. If beyond the turnover limit, the companies are merging and it goes beyond a turnover limit, then there also the Competition Commission of India will look into the matter. However, what has been going on is that now we can find lots of technology companies, that is digital companies. There is no asset criteria and the turnover criteria is there. However, it is not more evident. When two companies in the digital space are combining, what will happen is that the transaction cost will be very high. So this transaction cost, the transaction limit beyond 2000 crores rupees will be looked into with the amendment of the new law by the Competition Commission of India. Then there is a conciliation policy. The compounding of the antitrust laws has been brought with this. Antitrust means the type of business Google is doing, that is just swallowing the ad revenue by the Google. That is antitrust law. So there was no compounding. Compounding means reducing the penalty. in previous competition law, now the competition law has brought in this compounding. So the compounding of the antitrust law will happen. Then the amendment also includes, apart from the control definition of control as control of the shares and the control of the board of directors, to include the material control. That is, material nature of the control is will be looked into hereafter. So all these amendments should be operationalized in such a manner, the business line says that should be made operational in such a manner that it doesn't affect the ease of doing business in India. The competition law in the case of cement and tire manufacturing industries is long dragged, often in courts. That is, once the Competition Commission of India is taking over the issue in the tire manufacturing companies and the cement manufacturing companies cases, it goes to the court, and for a long time it goes on dragging and dragging. This has to be reduced. The natural principle of justice. For the crime, the punishment should be provided. However, the compounding of the antitrust laws goes against that principle, because when the company like Google is being spared for big mistakes of violation of antitrust laws, if you are making them pay a very lesser penalty which will not bother them, this is not going in the same spirit in which the competition law is passed. Therefore, it is advised that the principles of natural justice should be followed. Depending upon the company, the penalty should be determined. A uniform penalty will not work. Depending upon the company, it is advised that the penalty should be fixed. The net worth of the company must be looked into, and the turnover of the company must be looked into while fixing the penalty to be paid by the company which is violating the antitrust laws. Friends, I hope you have enjoyed today's analysis of the three key articles, very interesting articles which I have discussed today. Friends, I would appreciate if you also comment on my presentations, and then you yourself read the newspapers for the information on the articles I discuss, and further Google search the each item of the each point of the article threadbare. For example, today the second article, that is the sudden death, which is about the FIFA's ban on All India Football Federation. There are lots of vocabularies, a, a very copious flow of vocabularies in that article, a plethora of vocabulary in that article. Such articles are beautiful in the way in which we learn some vocabulary also. Learning English is learning vocabulary along with the grammar and the syntax of the sentences. So the second article, especially in the Hindu, that is about the FIFA's ban on All India Football Federation, I would recommend you to go through, because lots of words are there. One word is euphoria, and another word is sledgehammer. Another word is chagrin. Then another word is zealous. Like that. Lots of words are there to build your vocabulary, my dear friends. Kindly go through the article and note down all words, difficult words discussed in the article. In the first article, I observed that is a word called chasm. That is also awesome. So, kindly go through this article so that your vocabulary will also be built up. Friends, that is for the day. Let me take bid adieu. Meet you tomorrow with some more articles like this, the discussion. And till then, bye, good night.